dangerous and a flight risk. They were not allowed to get out of this area of the prison. Hence, they had to do their hard labor here. In the 70s, things began to relax. That's when they began being allowed to go and work at the limestone quarry. So working at the limestone quarry is something that came about in the 70s. In the 60s, they had to do the work right here in this yard. This wall was not here. You can see this wing. Yes, it's the one on the other side where we were walking. This one, that's where you were reading the stories over there. You see? So the single cells form a U shape. There are 90 of them, 90.
90 single cells.
Yeah, 90 single cells. And the passage, of course, was continuous. Before this wall was built, the passage was continuous from one end to the other end. And because of that, there was enough capacity in the single cells not to allow prisoners to stay in one cell for too long in the 60s. In the 60s, they shunted them around. That's why when you read Mandela's book, he writes about the cell from which he could see Table Mountain through the window. That cell could only have been in that block. But the cell that people say now is Mandela's cell is here. You see? So that relates to the time when they were moved around. The garden that he had was in this area. So this is the area where Mandela had a vegetable garden. If you've read
Mandela's vegetable garden.
the significance of that garden.
Wow. This is Mandela's vegetable garden. Wow. This is where some of the books Mandela used, buried some of the books he used to write The Long Way to Freedom. He buried them here. Interesting. This is historic.
We're also hiding copies of political literature. I read Das Kapital for the first time in this prison. And these were books that were banned in South Africa. That if you were caught in possession of outside there, you could end up in Robben Island. They had copies of those books hidden in these gardens all over the place.
But how did they get here initially?
Oh, that's another story.
Oh my.
A long one.
I can
You
imagine.
have to spend the whole day.
Wow.
It has something to do with being granted permission to study in prison after some years of being not allowed to engage in educational activities. It has something to do with how, with the International Committee of the Red Cross, they pressurized the government to begin to expand that privilege to such an extent that it included subjects.
Okay.
Like your philosophy, political science, sociology, subjects in which now and again there would be books recommended as reading material, which were banned in South Africa, but would be recommended as reading material that you could only access at the public library in the section of the reserved books that you cannot take out, right? You can read it there. So they pressurized together with the ICRC until the authorities agree that now you can then requisition for those. We'll have an arrangement with the library. You can requisition for those books because you are not able to go to the reserved section of the library. But they would limit how long you can have that book in your possession. You would also be told that you may not share this book with anybody else. You may do that at the risk of losing your permission to study if you are caught. But prisoners will still take that risk and assign individuals that they knew were very fast in copying by hand. So overnight, a prisoner would copy as many parts of that book as possible.
Wow.
Then the book, of course, would be taken away after 2 days, back to the library. They would then, another prisoner doing the same course at the same level, they would say, requisition for that book. It comes back. They start where they left off. So over time, they built up this literature like that, so that they would end up having a complete book. But it would be written in loose sheets, so that it is easy to hide it. Because you have to roll the loose sheets individually into small pieces, wrap them in plastic, so that water would not seep in, bury them in the garden.
Then there is possibility for distortion of some of the stories because the books were copied out. I mean,
by
human written omissions, errors will definitely
that possibility is always there.
Okay.
That possibility is always there. You know, when you talk distortions, you're prompting me to want to talk about something else now.
Please do. Please do. Or you want to just scratch it.
Let's go and see Mandela's